Okay, so now for this section, we're going over regions of the body. I didn't list every single region. I'm leaving a few out and saving them for the next section in anatomy just because it is a lot to throw at you all at once. So the regions I did mention were fairly simple. There was the facial region, which actually kind of just goes from the top of the ears down. This region, I didn't put it in the lesson plan, but from here up is the cranial region. And then also like this facial, everything, it can be divided into a lot of little mini subdivisions. I don't want to teach you all of those right now. I just want you to be aware of the fact that they do exist. But right now, just remember this is the facial region, but within the facial region is going to be the mandibular region, which is of course named after the lower bone jaw. So it just encompasses the lower jaw. And then there's the cervical region, which I kind of had already told you about with the cervical spine. It just incorporates in that. It's going to be posterior or anterior. All of this will be the cervical region. Then we get to like the pectoral region, which you can have, there's one of those regions on left or right side. You can specify the right pectoral region or left pectoral region, and I said that sort of backwards, but that's okay. And then there's the thoracic region, which is the mid-back, kind of upper to mid-back, and it involves the thoracic vertebrae again, and of course the low back is the lumbar region. And then we have the abdominal region. Again, this region can be subdivided into many different little mini regions, but I don't want you to worry about those right now. Just remember this is all is the abdominal region. And then we have like the acromial region. It's the superior, the upper shoulder, because back here where your shoulder blade is going to be the scapular region. So again, the shoulder's been divided into a couple subdivisions there. So acromial is the top and lateral edge, and then scapula is going to involve your shoulder blade and or the scapula bone. And then we have the brachial region, which is going to be the anterior arm. Actually, that might include anterior or posterior. So that's going to be this whole arm, the upper arm, brachial region. Cubital is going to be the elbow. That's the technical name for cubital. That one's a little bit tougher to remember because it's not a term that's very familiar. It's not like a lot of people have heard that until they study anatomy. And then antecubital, again, ante means in front of, so just that's going to be the anterior part of the elbow where that crease is, where your elbow will bend. That's the antecubital region. And then, let's see, the wrist, I didn't bother to put the hands or the wrist in there yet. So, and then the inguinal region, that's where a lot of people say when they pull their groin, it's going to be there, but it's this little line that leads down to the pubic area. It's at the bottom of your abdomen, upper thighs, but it leads like in this line. That's the inguinal region. Then of course, pubic region is self-explanatory. The gluteal region, I feel, is pretty self-explanatory too. I mean, a lot of people they're familiar with the word glutes and gluteal. So, let's see, did I put in sacral region? I did, didn't I? So the sacral is just, it's this flat bone, and I mean, I'm not the best model here, but it's the flat bone just below the low back. So, my low back ends like right there. Then just before that, it kind of leads down to your tailbone. That's going to be the sacral region, named after the sacrum bone. And then after that, we had the femoral region, which again, I think is probably going to be the anterior and posterior upper thigh. And then the patellar region was just your kneecap. It's going to involve the whole kneecap. And then also the back of the knee, the posterior knee, is referred to as the popliteal region, which again, there's a muscle back there called the popliteal muscle, and that muscle is just sort of there to design, like when you've been standing a long time and your knee's locked, it pops your knee back out. So that's where it got its name. Then, of course, the other two that are fairly difficult to remember are going to be the crural region, which is the anterior shin. And again, I like to remember that just by thinking of shin splints and how cruel they are. So that's how I keep them segregated in my mind. So there's crural and sural. Crural is the anterior, the front part of the lower leg, and sural is the back part of the lower leg. And I used to get them reversed all the time, so then I finally just keep telling myself, shin splints are cruel. So that way I remember cruel is the region in front, and sural is the posterior lower leg, the calf. And then I believe that's sort of all I taught you in the lesson. Again, once we get into the next curriculum with anatomy, we'll go back over a few regions that I skipped over. I'll add all the other things back in. And I just feel like I don't want to give you everything right now, even though it's easy to do. And I know anatomy can be overwhelming at first because it feels like you're learning a new language. So try not to get frustrated, and we'll just take it one step at a time. If you have any questions, just let me know.